Brahma Gururvishnu Gurudevo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Towards the end of last section, which concluded with Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. Here the student was told by the teacher that reality which shines within, the question of the student was, does it shine by itself or does it require another, is there another light which illuminates it? So in answer to that, in response to that, the Lord of Death answers the disciple that the sun, na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam, the sun does not shine there, nor does the moon. Nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi, that neither the stars nor the lightnings, much less the fire, tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. When he shines, everything shines after him. Tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. And by his light, all these shine. So either we can say the sun does not shine there, moon does not shine there, etc. Or we can say that neither the sun, nor the moon, nor the stars, nor the lightning, nor the fire, all sources of natural light are unable to illuminate the self. And therefore, it shines by its own self-effulgent light, doesn't require any other light, because our experiences, we saw that in life, whatever our eyes want to see, it has to be illuminated. In darkness you cannot see. So the student is saying, is because in the physical world I need a light to see something, do I need any light to see the self? So here it is told, the student's mind is being shifted. No, you have to drop searching for the truth in that manner. And now even more contemplations are given in order for the student, the disciple, Nachiketa, to intuit that reality in the 6th section, which is the last section, which we begin now. Adhyatma Yoga, Adhyatma means internal. Adhyatma means wanting to know the self, within, the yoga of the within. So what is going on there is the yoga of the without. All the asanas and the pranayams and the yoga nidra, and the attention is on the physical body. Attention is on the pranic body. But here we are not concerned with the world, we are not concerned with the body, we are not concerned with the breath, we are not concerned with the mind, we are only concerned with re-educating our intellect. And once the intellect, which feels that everything is real at this present moment outside, when it comes to convince itself by thinking, contemplating, inquiring, and coming to its own conclusion that that which is illuminating me, that is the reality. Who is saying? Intellect is saying. That which is illuminating me, that is the reality. Because of whom am I able to function when it keeps thinking in this manner again and again and again and again and again? This is what we are trying to get to, and Nachiketa has already got there. We are not there yet because we still think about breakfast, lunch, dinner, marriage will, etc., etc., etc. Nachiketa is not interested in all these things. He is only one thing. What is that? So, the Adhyatma Yoga is the internal yoga. So here in this first verse of the sixth Valli, Shashti Valli, Urdhva Mulo Vakshakha Esho Shvatha Sanatanaha Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma Tadeva Amrutamuchyate Tasmin Lokashruta Sarve Tadunatyeti Kaschana Etadvaitata. This is that. What is that? This is the ancient Ashwatha tree whose roots are above and branches spread below. That is verily the pure, that is Brahman, and that is also called the immortal. In that rests all the worlds, and none can transcend it. Verily, this is that. So, it's funny, we are doing this 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that also begins with this mantra only. Urdhva Moolam Adha Shakham Ashwatham Prahuravyayam. And there also this upside down tree is presented to us. Here, what is a vriksha? Vriksha is a Sanskrit word for a tree. And vriksh in Sanskrit language, no alphabet or word is used just to fill up the sentence. Every word has a meaning. And sometimes multiple meanings, and you should be able to use it. So here, vriksha, here the word vriksha is not used, ashwatha is used, I'll explain that. But all the trees are called vriksha. Vriksha means that which can be cut down. Just like Paramananda means the infinite bliss. When I say Teresa, immediately to me the Saint Teresa comes. So every word has a meaning. So what is the general meaning for the public? Vriksha means tree. But what is its real meaning? That which can be cut down. Similarly, this Ashwatha is one of the type of trees. There are trees, many different types. There are red gums, there are people, there is a banyan tree, there is a mango tree, there is a neem tree, there is so many different types of trees. But this particular Ashwatha tree, its peculiarity is, it has got very deep roots and very widespread roots. And it lasts for many years. Hundreds of years it lasts. It's one of the trees under which our Mahatma Buddha, the one blessing me from behind, he also got realized under that tree. We went to that place last time when we went. So what is the peculiarity of this tree? That it is upside down. Upside down. Who are you trying to fool? Upside down tree. Is there anything possible with upside down tree? But it's an idea, it's a picture presented, you can draw that. Whose roots are taking nourishment from the reality. The roots are sucking nutrition, because that's where the nutrition comes from. It is coming from the Vishnu, the all-pervading reality, the nourisher. And the trunk is below, and the branches and the leaves and the flowers and the fruits all this way. How can that be possible? It's very difficult for me to find out how can there be an upside down tree. So Swamiji has given a fantastic example, and that example is like, if you go to, I don't know how many of you have ancestors in Australia, or have you ever searched for your ancestors? So how is the ancestral tree begin? That, or if you say, when I go into Mahabharata or I go into the Queen of England, I find out, okay, she is the queen. And the queen, and then she has two sons? Two sons. Then three sons. Then those three sons, so first the queen, then she got married, then they had three sons, 1, 2, 3, then three sons with three wives, and then each one having three. Imagine. So where is it starting from? From one person on the top, isn't it? So do you say the great grandchildren are the roots of that family tree, or the queen is the root of the family tree? The queen is the root of the family tree. She is the source. So when you look at that family chart, it's like an upside down tree. The branches are below, the root is up. Same way, our Mahatma, our this life, creation, this life that we experience, it is this world that we, not life, the world that we experience, it's an upside down tree whose nourishing roots are getting nourished by the reality, and all the fruits and the branches are hanging downwards. And in order to point that this example of Ashwatha tree, there are three, just for information, there are three types of trees which come in this family. One is the banyan tree, one is the peepal tree, and one is the fig tree. They all three belong to this family. And it is projected out from the reality. And in this way, the Ashwatha, the word Ashwatha itself means that which will not be tomorrow. So, when the world which will not be tomorrow, why tomorrow? It is not the next moment. Forget about tomorrow, it is not even next moment. It gives us the illusion that it is there, but it is not there. Everything is changing every moment. But even this change that is happening every moment is rooted in the reality. Now that root we have to catch, and that root is our essential nature. And in this way, when we contemplate that this entire creation, which is full of change, we can't take the change relatively, we can take the change to be reality, but that change has to be on some permanent principle. The river is continuously changing, agree? But does the bed of the river change along with the river, flowing river? No. It needs something permanent. Only on a basis of permanent, only on a foundation of something permanent, only on the foundation or on the substratum of something which is permanent, you can have the changing principle take place. On the permanent waters, the waves come and go. On the permanent gold, ornaments come and go. On the permanent soil, the pots come and go. Exactly the same way, on the permanent principle, which is the self-effulgent principle, the source within, that is the source from which this world has emerged out, has been projected out, has been imagined, and it is sustained by that. Because, and if you take it more personally, that this whole world is a projection of your mind, and that mind is because of the infinite self within, the conscious principle within. And without the conscious principle, mind could not have imagined or projected this world. How is this projection taking place? We will show you again, and in the next verse it will come. And in this way, this tree of samsara, tree of the world, it gets nourished by the reality and continues till the seeker does not come to know himself. Once he comes to know himself, the tree is cut. So this whole journey, meaning the transcendental aspect as well as the immanent aspect. Immanent aspect, how the reality is a part and parcel of the creation that has to be known. How the rope is a part and parcel of the snake, it must be known. How the gold is independent of all the ornaments and yet expressing as various ornaments, this has to be known. Similarly, how the reality is infinite, absolute, self-effulgent, eternal, most ancient, all-pervasive, that is the transcendental aspect, but how it is expressing as this and supporting this variety called the world, that also needs to be known. And that cannot be known by putting attention on the world. For that you have to withdraw from the world and go within and realize the self within. And from that self's point of view again come to know the everything else. And in this way, one more point is here, that if you come to know yourself as the reality, you will not come to know the world, because the world will not be there anymore. So the idea of this tree that is being given, it is at the total mind level. So at the total mind level, all this that is being told becomes very clear. After that, you see that the entire, I am the source and I am the expressed also. From me, I am the one who is supporting all the projections. Everything is me only. But then you drop that also and then merge back into yourself. Because from the reality point of view, there is nothing called the world. So knowledge, if it has to take place, it can take place maximum up till the total mind. After that, the relative knowledge. The relative knowledge takes place up till the total mind. After that, it is transcendental knowledge. So, having understood this, now one more. Yadidam kincha jagat sarvam prana ejati nisrutam mahadbhayam vajramudyatam ya etad vidura mrutaste bhavanti. So, and also it was told in the previous verse, Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma. Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma, that reality which you come to know, it is the most pure Shukram. Tadeva Amrutam Uchyate, and having known that, one gains to Amrutam. Amrutam, immortality. Tasmin Loka Shruta Sarve Tasmin Loka Shruta Sarve, that all the worlds abide in that reality. Without that reality, the world has got no existence. Tadu natyeti kaschana, and in this manner, and none can transcend it. Verily, this is that. Once we come to know that, O Nachiketa, come to know this as that. Now in the second verse, this whole universe evolved from the Brahman, moves, vibrates in the prana, in the highest Brahman. Brahman meaning the reality. The Brahman is the great terror, like an uplifted thunderbolt. Those who know this become immortal. So, this is another aspect of way of understanding it, and that is the whole universe evolved from Brahman. That we have already seen. Here the word used is Yadidam kincha jagat sarvam prana ejati nisrutam. Prana. Prana means the breath. But here the Sanskrit language is so wonderful. You can use the same word at different meanings and keep it coded. So here the word prana means the reality, not the breath. Pran has many meanings. Pran can be said as the breath, pran can be known as the mind, pran can be known as the creator, pran can be known as the total mind, that is the abode of creator. Pran can also be known as the reality. Now it is up to the teacher how he reads the verse, understands the verse in the context of what the topic is going, and then decipher the meaning of that word. So those who are not prepared, those who are not purified, they will not be able to get the right meaning. Those who are single-pointedly, intuitively understanding the subject matter, they will be able to understand. So here it is said, Yatcha kinchit jagat sarvam. This whole universe evolved. Kincha jagat. In Ishavasya Upanishad, when we did the Ishavasya Upanishad, there it was Ishavasya midagam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagata. Yat kinchit jagatyam jagata. Here it is written yadidam kinchit jagat sarvam. So kincha means it's only a part, it's only a yadidam kincha jagat sarvam. Of that entire reality, the manifested world is only a tiny minuscule. It's, as we said before, it is like a dot on the toenail of the entire reality, if reality had a form. So reality is much bigger than that. And prana ejati nisrutam. Nisrutam, it emerged from that Brahman. Ejati, it vibrated out of it. So how did the creation came as a vibration out of that one reality? So here the word prana or prane, as it is given, again Sanskrit language is a very unique language. Just like German language, each word has 21 forms, and singular, dual, plural, and nominative, accusative, instrumental, dative, ablative, locative. So these are the different formations. So same word can be used in different contexts. So here the word pran, if it is used as the noun, then it comes as the prana being present. The whole universe arose from Brahman and moves in prana. Moves in prana. This is the nominative. And if you take it as the seventh case, the locative case, then it comes, the prana being present, the whole universe comes out of him and vibrates in him. So in the seventh case, prana is taken as the reality, and in the noun case, the whole verse arose from Brahman and moves in prana. So there, that interpretation is taken. Now, prana here we will take the, it means as the one which is the master of the creation, that is the source of the creation, that is the substratum of the creation, and out of it, the entire creation emerges out. And how does it emerge out? It emerges out as a vibration. And yesterday, when we were at dinner table, I think, then you were asking, isn't it? And I was explaining that first the Ishwar Prakriti and then, first Maya, Brahman, and then that Maya, the moment he wanted to desire, the Ishvara and the Maya principle was created. Ishvara is the total conditioned consciousness, not manifested yet, and Maya is the total Prakriti, which has not, Prakriti, the total matter, which has not expressed yet. And then this conscious principle places his seed in his consort, the Maya, his wife, the Maya. Opposites are there. And the moment the seed is placed in a fertile soil, immediately it starts gaining life. The moment you plant a seed in the soil and put some water and give it some sunshine, life starts vibrating in it. Same way, in Maya, the first vibration that came, I explained yesterday, was the Sattva Rajas Tamas, the purity, dynamism and inertia. And the interplay of these three, purity, dynamism and inertia, Sattva Rajas Tamas, is this entire creation. And it's only a vibration, nothing else. Just like wave is nothing but a ripple on water, which we call a wave. A disturbance. The cloth, this cloth had been folded. Now I opened, now you can see the crease. Crease is nothing but the cloth. A disturbance in the cloth is called the crease. A disturbance in the creation, in the unmanifest creation, is called as a vibration, and that vibration itself, when we throw a stone into a calm waters, initially first wave is created. But that wave gives birth to 1, 2, 3 and it goes on and probably after 15-20 minutes it will all subside. Because first wave comes, then the second wave comes, then the third, and they go to the shore, and then when they reach the shore, again a backward wave is created, and that backward wave getting in the way of the wave which is coming towards the shore creates another wave, and this way it keeps multiplying itself. Same way, these sattva, rajas, tamas, when they interplay with each other, the gross, the subtle and the causal, these three creations are created. And in a very general term, we know that the causal world is the deep sleep state, the subtle world is the dream state, and the physical world is the waking state. And this way, that entire creation is a vibration of this. If the reality was not there, would the vibration be possible? If the reality was not there, will that unmanifest matter, where does it exist? In ignorance. Who knows that there is ignorance? I know. Are you dead or are you alive? I am alive. So consciousness, without consciousness, you can't even know ignorance. So we essentially are placing that seed and making it disturb. And in this manner, ejati vibrates, prana ejati nisrutam. So, the world of matter is completely nothing but a vibration of energy, and that energy is neither lost nor created, it is always there. Either it is manifest or it is unmanifest. Just like your waking plane of experience and your dream plane of experience, it is either expressing or it is unexpressed. When it is unexpressed, you are in sleep. When it is expressing, you are awake. Either in dream you are awake or you are in waking plane you are awake. But that does not mean that you are not there. You are there. You know you had a good sleep. You know you had a dream. You know you are awake right now. So you cannot say you are not there. So what is this vibration? Again, in scientifically speaking, every atom has protons, electrons and neutrons, protons and electrons, and majority of the rest of the space in an atom is nothing but empty space. Neutrons and protons are the core of the atom, and the electrons are like, so neutrons and protons are like the sun, the center of the solar system, and all the electrons are vibrating around it. If, and today the science has reached that point, that if they can remove or add one electron to the atom, inside the atom, they can change the character, the whole material will change. So, if H2O, there are two atoms of hydrogen, and if you introduce one atom of oxygen, immediately hydrogen gets replaced with what? Water. So you change the whole composition just by introducing one thing. And this way, if you have introduced something or you have removed something, nothing is lost, nothing is gained, only some change comes about. And this way, our Einstein Maharaj has also proved that energy gets converted into matter, and matter, when it dies, doesn't get lost, it just gets converted into energy. I give you an example. An block of ice, when it melts, it does not lose itself, it becomes water. Water, when it is, if we say water is getting evaporated, oh, where has all my water gone? You have put on a pot on the gas. It has got not lost anywhere, it has become water vapor and it is there in the nature. So the oceans never become less or more because so much water is getting evaporated on a daily basis. So it is just conversion of energy into some form or the other, and all that is happening as a result of, if every atom is only a vibration and every matter, this wood table is nothing but made up of millions and zillions of atoms, and every atom is nothing but a vibration of electrons around the nuclei, then this table must be a vibration, but your eyes can't see it. That's all. But some other animals can see it. Our faculties only function in a certain wavelength. Eyes can see only a certain wavelength. The ears can go into certain frequency. I think little bit on the minus and little bit in the plus. Dog can hear much more. Cats can hear much more. Snakes don't have a ear, but yet they come to know. How do they come to know? The vibration from the earth. And so this way, rats, their cognitive faculty is totally different to human beings. What they can hear, we can never hear. What the chameleon sees, a chameleon has an eye which is octagonal in nature. Octagonal. 8 faces of the eye. We have only one, concave. If the 8 faces, imagine what her world will be like. You can't even imagine, and yet you can't try to find her. Can't. And yet it moves in the right direction. It knows where to put the feet. It knows where to eat which food to eat, which not to. Everything it knows. It's living in the same world. So everything is interchangeable, and that is the secret of this universe. Of this universe which is made up of matter, and that matter is made up of atoms. Those atoms are made up of electrons and neutrons are continuously vibrating. So if the physically the subtlest aspect of this matter is atom, and that atom is continuously vibrating, will it not be a vibrating universe? But our eyes can't see it. That's a different matter. You have to use a microscope, or you have to use the special equipment to see that everything is vibrating.
And does the vibration occur in fields?
Pardon me?
Does the vibration occur in fields?
Yes, it occurs in fields. So that field is where? In space, isn't it?
Just in that chapter 13, talked about fields.
The field of knowledge. Is that what you're talking about?
Or the knower of the field.
The knower of the field. The vibration is not in the knower of the field. The vibration is in the matter which is born out of ignorance. Ignorance never is when you come to know. It exists as long as you are deluded. The moment you come to know, ignorance vanishes. And that ignorance produces the vibration. But that ignorance cannot exist without the reality which is essentially you. It's a different way of looking. But you cannot say that the ignorance is in the reality. Can't be. How can the reality be ignorant? And yet our experience is ignorance exists. But it exists only till we have knowledge about something that we are ignorant. The moment we have knowledge about what we are ignorance vanishes. Till we don't know that we are ignorant, we don't know it. Till that fellow did not know that it is a snake. He did not know. He was going through all the symptoms of a snake bite and fear of seeing a snake. But when a wise man comes along and says, "Hey, idiot, this is a rope. Look at it properly." Shows the light, lifts everything. It's a rope. Touch, feel. And once he does that, the fear goes away. So where was that fear? It was born out of ignorance. Same way when we move around in this world, these phobias and mindsets that people have, about everything and they are afraid of different aspects of the world. It's all because of ignorance. Don't be ignorant. Have strength that I am that who is giving the strength to the world. Every ghost will run away from you. How dare he come close to you? How any doubt may come close to you? There is no fear who will have the guts to come close to you. And if it comes close, it is only for you to discover your strength that you are the master. It's said that if any problem comes, only those problems come to you for which you have the strength to overcome, isn't it? The problem of Einstein was different. We idiots will never get that type of problem of finding E is equal to mc square. How does mass get converted into energy? Our problems are, how do I pay my next bill? Pathetic. The small child's problem is, why I have to give my toy to the other person to play with? Isn't it? That is our problems. So we have grown only to the extent that we can handle these problems. But as we grow within and become wiser and come closer to our own essential nature, and as the mind is purifying, those type of challenges automatically, you can't help it. As long as the mind has to be purified, those type of challenges will come, and those deeper, profound challenges will only present themselves when you are ready to handle them.
I was just going to say that I've known 6 people who have had problems and committed suicide. So what happened there? That they had problems presented to them, but
They didn't have the strength to face it. They succumbed to the problem. Nobody told them that they are the one because of whom the problem is expressing. Nobody gave them the knowledge. Nobody gave them the inspiration. And that inspiration will not come by tablets. It will not come by doctors. It comes from an intrinsic faith within yourself that yes, I can. Yes, there is a possibility. I exercise my choice not to succumb to this.
they gave up too soon.
Gave up too soon. Why? Because poor me, the world is too big. I accept defeat. You have to be a warrior. Therefore, arise, awake, stop not till you reach the goal. And arise and awake to what? That you are that which cannot be illuminated by the sun, the moon, the stars, the lightning, the fire. You are that. You are the one who is illuminating all of them. The standpoint that you have to take is a giant one. It's a giant leap into yourself. And from that point, when you keep looking at it, you will be ever inspired. You can't be depressed even once. Then that bird is being eaten by the cat. Then, oh, poor bird, the cat ate, it is not nice. You remain equanimous. Because if you go into that emotion, who is suffering? You are suffering. Remain equanimous. I created this creation. This is also, the bird is also me and the cat is also me. Today the cat is eating the bird, tomorrow the dog will eat the cat. Isn't it? Then how many things are you going to go after saving? In the 15th chapter it will come, Brahma Arpanam Brahma Havihi, Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. You all chant that, you know? Yes. So what is that statement? Brahman, Brahma Arpanam Brahma. In short I will tell you that that the food that I eat is reality, the hand which picks up the food is reality, the movement that is taking place of taking the food to the mouth is in reality, the mouth is reality, the digestion is reality, reality is eating reality. See the standpoint now. When you start thinking everything is in that manner, what are you going to save and what are you going to run away from or what are you going to run towards? It's a totally, it transforms you. Every moment is a joy expressing when you look at anything. When you come from the inner core. So, the conclusion of this verse is Yadidam kincha jagat sarvam prana ejati nisrutam, that this world is existing in the eternal, the reality, it evolved from it and it evolved from it only as a vibration. Mahadbhayam vajramudyatam ya etad vidurum mrutaste bhavanti. The Brahman is a great terror. Oh, the reality is a great terror. My God, I thought it was the most loving, unconditional loving reality. That is how we want to know. We want to know the reality as my buddy, loving buddy. How come terror? Is it that I have to be afraid of it? What happened to that unconditional love that we are talking about? Everywhere I like to think of reality only as love. That here it is a terror. Yes, terror. Terror means it is strict. Strict means when a king enters into a room, everyone is alert about that the king has come, I must do my job. The sentry standing at the door, katak, attention. All the ministers who are sitting around, katak, attention, they stand up. They dare not be sitting down. They have to be alert. They have to know, because the king can ask any question to any minister. How is the ministry going? If he comes to ask, Stanton, how is the project going? And you say, yes, it is going fine. Not good enough. How is the client? I heard that the client is not happy. No, sir, that was not the case. It was this. Don't give excuses. You have to be alert. You have to know what is going on. All these ministers. Similarly, when the sun is present, all the planets have to behave. They cannot say, "Arey yaar, for a long time we have gone around sun, let me take my own trip." He can't. So sun is a terror for all other planets, isn't it? And who is the terror? Who does not listen to him? The comets don't listen to the sun. They go zwing, 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 zwing. Somewhere they will dash and die. Their life is not as long as the planets. Asteroids, they are also moving in a particular direction, but somewhere they will get attracted and they will also die their death. But all the day and night, because of the sun. Day cannot say, oh, today I will not come. Every day I come and I stay for such a long time and I get tired now. This time today I am not going to come. It doesn't say that. Night will also come. The seasons will also come. The planets will also rotate in their own determined path till the end of time. Whatever is their end of time. So, just like sun is a terror in the sense that it is the regulator, it is the commander of all the planets. Similarly, this self, this reality, this Brahman, this infinite principle is that terror in whose presence all other functions in this creation happen to the T. They cannot change. Gravity will not say, no, I will not. The eyes will not say, today I want to hear. We have not come across anyone. If you can't see, then the power will just shift to some other organ and it will be enhanced. But ears cannot say, today I am going to taste food. You can't. He can only hear. Eyes can only see. The liver can't decide, today I am going to pump the heart, like the heart. Why heart has got such an important position in the body? I want to give important position. Doesn't change. Everything is doing his or her job in the system. And all that is because there is a commanding person in whose presence, the fear of whom is making them function correctly. The moment he leaves, they have got no life of their own, isn't it? In the body, when he leaves, we saw that previously in one of the verses that all the faculties leave the body and the body is declared dead. Even that dead body, when the pranas have left or the life principle has left, even the gross body, the bones, the skin, the blood, the waters in the fire in the body, the space in the body, everything goes back into its source. The space goes back to the total space, the waters go back to the total waters, they get evaporated, the fire goes back to the sun, the solids, they become dust and become one with the earth. And in this way, nothing is left behind, cannot survive. But while they are living, while they are surviving, the matter which this world is has to follow the dictates of the life principle. And therefore it is told that the Brahman is a great terror like an uplifted thunderbolt. Those who know this become immortal. So, don't know Brahman is immortal, oh my God, that Brahman, oh, behind the skies. No. My essential nature is that immortal reality. That is like a thunderbolt in whose presence the eyes must function, the senses must function, the organs must function, the word must function. And when you have this indisputable conviction in your mind, such a person is called a God man. And if he says, it must rain, how dare the clouds not come and rain? If he says, go, from today you can see, how dare that blind person not open his eyes and start seeing? We have seen such examples. So when a master who has come to know himself, when he says something, it becomes a reality. So the mouth, the words that are coming out are also because of that conscious principle within. And when you know that because of this conscious principle that I am, the speech is coming, and the speech, you are not judging what you are going to say. A person comes with great faith, Swami, please, my leg is, I got polio, please can you fix it, please. And for some people it comes out, for some people it doesn't come out at all. There is a relationship there. We will not go into that. But if he says, go, you will walk back home. He has to walk back home. Why? If that from that standpoint this fellow's words have come out, it has to manifest. Whatever he says, the world must manifest. How dare it not? And when that starts happening, then that is the point that is being explained here. Is it that one who comes to know himself, he keeps changing the world? Okay, today if I can change the world, let me make it into a better world, let me make life on Mars also, let me make life on Venus also. Oh, Venus is too hot, let me reduce the temperature of Venus because it's closer to the sun so that life can manifest. Does he get into all these things? No. Just because he can manifest doesn't mean he will go and play with the whole creation. It is not impossible for him to do that. But for everything to be done, you need energy, isn't it? And the energy source is only from the energy or vibration. The source is only the infinite self. And a realized master, when he has got no desires, why will he go into all these things? Then why is he healing people? Why is he manifesting things? It is because whatever is coming in front of him, that is demanding it, and the total mind is responding to that. He is not in the equation. The matter is playing with matter. He is watching. Don't think that he is doing it. So in this manner, the Brahman is a great terror, like an uplifted thunderbolt. And this way, the Mahad Bhavam, a great terror, he is the lawmaker, he is the strict maintainer of all these universal laws. And the universal laws, other universal laws are what? The planets must go around, the sun must remain there, the law of gravity, the law of karma, the as you sow, so you reap. All these, in every religion you know the tenets by which every religion is surviving, or what the basic tenets are. All those laws are there. You cannot say, I'm not going to follow the law of karma. You may not, but that is what is governing you. You may not. You have the choice not to. Yes?
Could you say some more about the matter, what you said before about, I can't remember the words, matter with matter.
Matter with matter.
The man is playing with the matter.
Man is playing.
Matter.
Matter is playing with matter.
Mm.
Yes, it is just nothing much to talk about. Here the point that we are making is that the matter is able to manifest itself, exist itself, and eventually get destroyed only because of that one conscious principle, that is I. And whatever change is taking place in the matter is taking place because of unchanging substratum. The change in the river is taking place, if you take the water at an atomic level or molecular level, it is happening because of an unchanging substratum foundation called the riverbed. The changes in gold are taking place from, I got a necklace, I want to make it into an earring. The gold has to be there. Without gold I cannot make one ornament into another. So the basic is gold, the foundation is gold, ornament is the creation. Gold is not, in that example, now don't ask from where did gold come. The gold, in that example, gold is the foundation, and the creation of the, if you take the creation will be the ornaments. Water is the substratum, waves is the creation, mud is the substratum, pots is the creation, the infinite self is the substratum, the life as we know it of names and forms, that is the creation. These names and forms, this creation cannot come, exist and eventually go away. That means get created, exist and go away without the presence of a intelligent principle. And that intelligent principle, I am. And that intelligent principle is essentially infinite, all-pervading, eternal, and the last, a great terror in whose presence everyone has to behave themselves.
Actually, it is very peculiar, isn't it, when you think of it, that there is this substance in the ground, we dig it up, we make it into a different shape, and someone buys it for thousands of dollars.
Yeah, Baba will give it to you free. Or if you have the capacity. Important thing is not that we want it, important thing is that we want to get out of this and come to know who we really are. Otherwise those suicides will not be possible. Those suicides are because they have not come to recognize their divinity. They have accepted themselves as a teeny meeny me who is at the mercy of this whole world. The world doesn't love me, the world doesn't take care of me. I think it is not worth living anymore. And once the will goes from within, nobody can help that person. See? Once the will goes, nobody can help that person. I saw one example on the TV the other day. He came back from Afghanistan and both his hands are cut, both his legs right from this point near the hips are cut. Only the torso is there and the head. And he does everything. He plays golf, he goes for swim, he studies, he has re-educated himself. He says, no, I am not dead yet.
That was on television.
Yes, yes. Oh, so inspiring when you look at it. And he's sitting in the car. He said, and he's been interviewed. He says, when I sit in the car and I smile, everyone thinks, oh, what a handsome fellow. But only when they open the door, they realize they get a shock. And I enjoy when they go through that shock. Then they have to lift me to take me inside. And he goes, he has got, and they've got prosthetics. And with that, he takes the golf club, puts it under his chin, they put some apparatus, and with the chin he hits the ball. And he has developed so much strength, he plays golf.
And he gives hugs.
He gives hugs. Amazing personality. Another person, one leg gone or little bit of pain here, and the rest of the life, nobody takes care of me. The council doesn't take care of me. I have paid so many taxes, this, that. Yeah. This fellow has got nothing to live for. But he has the courage. He has the life. He has the determination that nothing can drop me down. Nothing can make me feel sad. I'm still alive. When you focus on the life, that's when inspiration comes. When you focus on matter, depression comes. This is one simple rule that you remember. The more you focus on matter, matter meaning this world, matter meaning this body, matter meaning the mind, matter meaning the thoughts, the more you focus on them, the more depression will come. The more you think about something that is born in this time, having a beginning and end, eventually depression will come. But when you focus your attention on the spirit, on the inspiration, upon the life principle, that I am still alive. And that's what this boy, when in the interview, it was so thrilling to listen to him. I was having tears when I was listening to him, because look at that, he's a God man. So, the more we focus on the self, the more we focus on life, the more we focus on the solutions. Till then, confidence, inspiration, motivation, the ability to tackle everything that life throws at us, that ability will automatically start expressing through us. We don't have to worry how, it will express. You be happy. Make that commitment to yourself. That under any circumstances, I am not going to be sad. I am going to be inspired. Only in an inspired mind, solutions come. In a depressed mind, solutions don't come. So, yadidam kinja jagat sarvam prana ejati nisrutam mahadbhayam vajramudyatam ya etad viduramritaste bhavanti. Those who know this become immortal. So whatever we have just talked about, those who know this, they become immortal. Isn't it inspiring just to listen? Just to contemplate on it, I am getting inspired. Imagine if you know that 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, there's nothing. You're always on the top of the world. Nothing can push you down. The world will try. The world will always try to put you down. Why it has to try that? Because you only created all those circumstances with your impressions. So those challenges are coming back. As you sow, so you reap. So what you are reaping all those challenges. You only placed them somewhere in the past. But the greatness of man is to overcome them with inspiration. And with this, we get into the third verse. Bhayad asyat nistapati, bhayat tapati suryaha, bhayad andrascha vayuscha, mrityur dhavati panchama. For the fear of him, the fire burns. For the fear of him, shines the sun. For the fear of him, do Indra, the lord of the mind or the lord of the rains, Vayu, and Vayu means the air, and death, the fifth, proceed with their respective functions. Meaning that because of this infinite principle, the fire burns and maintains. It doesn't say today I am going to be cold. It continues to be a fire which burns. Sun doesn't say that today I am going to, arey yaar, for millions of years I have been giving, I need a break. It doesn't say that. Fire will continue to burn. For the fear of him, there shines the sun, yes. And for the fear of him, the Indra, either you take Indra as the lord of the mind, or you take Indra as the lord of the rain. Whichever way, or some places it is taken as Indra is the lord of the actions, which is the productive potential behind the arms, is Indra. So, he also functions only because of his fear. Vayu, that is the breath, also functions, or the air element also functions only because of him. And these, in the olden times, in the Vedic period, these great elements, the sun, the air, the fire, the waters, these were the gods. There was no other god, Krishna or Rama, all this was not there, only these were. And the fifth one was the death. He was the deity. And here it says, the fifth, death, the fifth, proceed with their respective. So death is also doing his job. He doesn't say, oh today, please death, I don't want to come, I'm afraid. He says, okay, you have one more chocolate and then come. He doesn't say that. Whatever you have accrued, if your time is up, come on, let's go. So death is also functioning within its parameters. Each one, the sun, the fire, the water, the air, the death, all of them are functioning in their environment, in their limits, because of the fear of the reality. And that reality, I am. That I am is one which cannot be illuminated by anything, neither the sun, neither the moon, neither the lightning, neither the stars, neither the fire. I am that ever shining, all shining, self-effulgent reality, and where I can catch myself? In the cave of my heart. So meditate. And in this way, every aspect of the creation is perfectly in synchronization with each other, isn't it? There must be, if an office is is functioning at its optimum level, you know the manager is good. The manager is loving, the manager is strict, everyone knows that we have to get our job done, otherwise we will be in trouble. If this much simple thing you understand, in the house, if the mother is strict or father is strict, the children behave. Left alone, they will create havoc in the house. In the class, that teacher which doesn't know how to be strict, students take advantage of the teacher. But that teacher who is loving, compassionate, but at the same time strict, in a different way, not with a stick in the hand, but it is strict. The students know that they can have fun, but at the same time they have to do their job. They have to behave, they have to study, they have to perform, otherwise they will get into trouble from the teacher. Same way, if the whole creation is functioning in a perfect manner, everything is happening to the T in this creation. Nobody is going out of their place when we look at the total cosmos. There must be someone who's controlling all that, or because of whose fear all this is happening. And that is that eternal principle. Recognize yourself to be that. This is that.
What does it mean by ever shining? Is it a real light, or is it a not light, or is it neither?
Relatively, it is both. Relatively, it is light, and transcendentally, it is self-effulgent light.
But it is
Shining light is a principle. Is there a bulb inside your eyes? So your eyes are illuminating. My eyes are illuminating everything, isn't it? So what is that which is illuminating my eyes? conclude here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.